Welcome to IAYTD. Today we're doing something a little different. Instead of reviewing No Man's Sky, I thought it'd be more beneficial to look at No Man's Sky and some of the controversy surrounding it. This will hopefully give you a clear idea if this is a game you might be interested in. Reviews for the game are very drastic. Some people love it, some people hate it, so let's look at this game's history and why people are so divided. No Man's Sky is the third game developed by a British video game studio called Hello Games, which only has about 15 employees. Their first two games were Joe Danger and Joe Danger 2, which are drastically different than No Man's Sky. The general public first saw No Man's Sky at the Video Game Awards in 2013 with a trailer that was mysterious but intriguing. Hello Games wasn't a household name, so something this ambitious caught the world by surprise. Even more surprising was the fact that No Man's Sky appeared as the headline title for Sony's press conference at E3 2014, something relatively unheard of for a small indie title. And it came with PS4 console exclusivity, at least for the time being. Now let's look at what No Man's Sky is before we continue with the game's release in 2016. No Man's Sky is a first-person survival game where you're armed with a multi-tool that is able to mine material as well as combat, though the combat aspect of the game is incredibly rare. The selling point of the game is that the amount of planets that you can visit is almost infinite, all procedurally generated, meaning the planet is created from a random assortment of ones and zeros, including the plant and animal life. It's approximated that there are over a quintillion possible planets to discover. And once you discover one of these planets, you can name it, as well as whatever life you discover there. The game is single player, but you may run across planets that have been named by other players already. I've seen it a few times, but with the quantity of planets out there, it is rare. All of the clips and trailers shown before the game's release just showed the player walking and looking and occasionally mining something, leading viewers to ask, what do you do? But it turns out that is what you do. This is not a first-person shooter like Destiny. There's no other players to shoot. The only things you'll ever shoot are animals trying to attack you or ships attacking you in space, or the really protective sentinels. This basically means that the game is relatively slow. It's been called a Zen game by some folks, meaning it's a mindless game that you can just travel and enjoy the sights and not put too much thought into. And it is very much that. I spent about 3 hours on a planet trying to discover all the forms of animal life, spending my whole adventure on foot, wandering across mountains and through caverns. Not a shot was fired, and there was no urgency, no threat of danger. This is a resource gathering game, where you find minerals you need to upgrade your suit or your ship, where you find rare commodities you can sell for money to buy a better ship, or more resources. It almost resembles Minecraft more than it resembles a first-person shooter, except you can't really build anything with these resources aside from upgrades. When I talk about the buzzwords procedurally generated, what does that mean? It means there is a catalog of types of planets and different statistics. The random planet generator might decide this is a nice planet full of life, or maybe this is a barren and toxic planet. It randomizes where minerals are, where the water goes, it's all random. When a planet has animals, it supposedly mixes up body parts, so you might see a giant lumbering creature with a little head or fins or wings or who knows what. This might result in some very odd-looking Frankenstein creations. However, this has led to some controversy, just the first of many involving this game. With a quintillion planets, you'll start to see repetition. I've seen nearly identical creatures even after just a few planets. They don't seem very unique, aside from minor changes. Even watching other videos from players across the world, I've seen creatures and planets looking identical to those that I've stumbled across. So the idea of a near infinite number of possibilities seems to be loftier than what is really executed here. This opens up a bigger complaint. When we look at the videos that the developers showed off back in 2013 and 2014, the game looks very different. Here's a popular video that went viral immediately at release.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
The creatures, the environments, even some gameplay mechanics that were shown off are very different than what the final game gives us, which has led to an uproar. There are two sides of this argument, both of which have some valid points. Games are constantly changing, so it's likely that the developers at Hello Games wanted to have these majestic creatures and living environments, but as the game came together, those things weren't possible, or they ran out of time to really implement them well. They discussed giant space battles with various factions, That's something that's absent from the game completely. This is something that a patch or an update could add to the game down the line. This is the forgiving side of the argument, that understands that a team of less than 20 people couldn't possibly deliver on the sort of scope that we were expecting. Once PlayStation started promoting the game, the hype train took off and we started to believe that this would be a monumental step in the evolution of games. If this game were released quietly, maybe at a smaller price point, you would not be seeing the hate of this magnitude. So let's talk about the downside. People have revolted. There are all sorts of videos out there compiling all the lies that Hello Games told, features that weren't included, graphics that didn't make it to the final game.
In terms of ecology, like, almost anything's possible.
Some people might expect things that aren't in the game, you know?
Can you land on a comet?
Yeah, at the moment you can land on asteroids.
Do the animals eat each other?
Yeah, they do.
Most of these videos insist that Hello Games, and most notably lead on the project Sean Murray, maliciously lied to the consumers. Numbers are dropping, people are upset and demanding refunds. However, this isn't everyone. People are vocal when they dislike something, less so when they're happy with something. The Metacritic score is much more favorable than you'd think. The comments section of any No Man's Sky video, likely including this one, is a mixed bag. People love it and are diving completely into it, while others think it's the worst game ever made. It's been a long time since a game has been this divisive. In terms of facts, yes, there are a lot of things that Hello Games promised or led us to believe about this game, things that just didn't happen in the final product. But when you look at it through the lens of how large their studio is, it's understandable. From the start, this game was never going to be the monumental leap that people expected. It's a great concept, and there are some cool mechanics here that will likely help to make other games great, but on its own, people have a lot of faults with it. For me, I think the generation of planets and life is intriguing, but it's already repetitive after about 20 hours, hardly a quintillion planets. But if you go in with the mindset of exploration, and that Zen mentality, you might really find something special here aside from the controversy and hate. If you know nothing about No Man's Sky, hopefully this helps narrow down if this is your type of game. If you've given it a shot, which side of the coin do you fall on? Do you love it, hate it, or are you fairly apathetic about it? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thank you for watching.